Okay, welcome to all of you this evening. We're so glad you're here for our call on how to improve your insulin sensitivity. I am Dr. Joel Dayton. I'm going to switch over here to my slideshow and just make sure we're good here. I'm going to move this up here. All right. And I'm going to hit play and make sure that that's working. Can everyone see that? I just need a thumbs up or we're good. Okay, perfect. Awesome. All right. So my name is Dr. Joel Dayton. I am a chiropractor and I practice in Orlando. A lot of you know me or know my wife or know both of us. We've been practicing for 7 years and we are super passionate about helping people live healthy lives and learning how to do that independently. So that they are empowered and know exactly how they can change their lives for better health. So tonight we're going to be focusing on insulin sensitivity. And another way that people talk about that is this is the opposite of insulin resistance, okay? And so if we can really hone in on learning how to use our insulin and learning how our body uses insulin, then what this will do is allow us to make sure that we maximize the ability for us to use our food, to utilize our food in the best way. So we're going to hop right on in. And I have this really stark number, 49.3%. This number is a very large number. And this number represents the percentage of people with diabetes and pre-diabetes in the United States that are above the age of 18. Look at this, guys. It's 50% of us in the United States are dealing with insulin resistance because, as we know, another way of saying this is people that have diabetes and pre-diabetes, these are people who are dealing with insulin resistance. So we are at a crucial point in the US. And we really need to tip the scales in the other way because maybe you know this, maybe you don't know this, but $1 in $4 of healthcare dollars in the United States are spent on people who have diabetes. So if we are going to reverse the trends of high healthcare costs in the United States and start taking personal responsibility, the only way that we're going to do that is by taking personal responsibility. So this topic is super, super important, and it's something that we're going to obviously just touch on this evening, but if you have more questions, again, I'm happy to answer those. Let's start out with this. What is insulin and what does it do? Okay, so insulin is a hormone, and insulin, hormones, maybe you know, maybe you don't, but hormones, their main purpose is to act as a messenger. So insulin acts as a messenger to tell the body what to do with its sugar sources or its energy sources. And its main purpose is to get sugar sugar that we eat into your cells. Now, people think that sugar is not a great thing. I have someone that's unmuted. If you could mute yourselves, actually, that would be great. Don't do that because then I can't see. So sugar needs to get into your cells. It's not a bad thing. But if it's in excess, it is going to create some problems. So insulin helps sugar get into cells. And it's also, if it can't get sugar into cells, then it's going to help convert that sugar into fat or long-term storage. So I want to talk a little bit about how insulin works. And to do this, I have a really fun example for you. I'm going to have to, someone's not muted. I'm going to have to mute really quick. Hang on just a sec. All right. Okay, cool. Now we're There we go. Sorry, we had to mute you because we were getting feedback somewhere. Okay, so let me go back to this. All right, so I have an example of how insulin works, and let me show you how this works. I have a really fun example to explain this. Okay, so I'm going to explain this in something that might be near and dear to your hearts, or something that you might remember. And in this example, Simon Cowell is going to act as our insulin. Our sugar is going to be played the part by American Idol, which is, if you don't know, Simon Cowell created American Idol. And he wanted to make sure this got into every person's television set, that everyone was watching it in the United States, right? And the part of the cell will be played by a 13-year-old girl who wants to watch American Idol. All right, so in this example, we're going to talk about how energy is supposed to be used. So Simon Cowell has a great idea. He's going to create a TV show, and his job is to try and get that TV show into as many American homes as possible in the United States. So he is going to make an access point for sugar to come into your life, or American Idol to come into your life. When this works properly, sugar is going to go into the cell, and it's going to be used in the cell to do work within the cell. However, energy can also be overutilized. So as the seasons progressed, people got kind of tired of American Idol, and they didn't want to watch American Idol anymore, right? So when season 10 came around, what happened was people said, no, I'm tired of American Idol. I don't want to watch American Idol anymore. And the ratings started going down, which they were resisting Simon Cowell and not wanting to watch his show anymore. As a result, what happened? Well, people started watching other shows, and they started TiVoing American Idol. So this is what happens with our body. Our body says, insulin, I'm okay, don't want you anymore. I'm not going to allow any more sugar in. And what happens is insulin goes over to long-term storage, which is going to be visceral fat around your belly and your glutes oftentimes. And as a result, people started storing this into long-term storage. But unfortunately, what happens then is we have insulin resistance. The sugar is no longer going into the cell because the body says, hey, I've got enough, I've had enough. And this is, the body says, hey, I don't need any more sugar inside my cells. I've got enough storage to take care of me. So we don't need any more insulin. So what do we need to do to fix this problem? Well, we need to be able to make our insulins more sensitive. And how we do that is we bring out the storage. We clear out our TiVo so that we can be more receptive to more television shows that Simon Cowell makes, like America's Got Talent. So this is just a little example of insulin resistance. When the cell gets tired of sugar and says, I have enough storage, I don't need any more, it sends insulin to long-term storage, which is visceral fat. And then insulin will allow sugar to enter into visceral fat, which converts it into fat. Okay. So the question is, how do we increase our insulin sensitivity? If we have this problem of our body rejecting insulin, what do we need to do? Well, I have a couple of practical things that you can do to increase your insulin sensitivity tonight. We want to talk first about how we use carbs in the correct manner. We want to talk about fiber intake. We're going to be talking about supplementing to limit our blood sugar spikes so that our body doesn't dump off, our insulin doesn't take our sugar to long-term storage. We want to talk about snacking and how we do, we need to be careful about our snacking, and also talk about intermittent fasting. And the last thing we're going to talk about is stress management. Okay, so let's start off talking about carbohydrates. As a rule of thumb, the best advice I can give you with carbohydrates is slowing down the digestion of them. The slower that they digest, the better off you are. So if we look at our digestive tract here, the body, when you first eat sugar, the body's going to take it into the stomach, and then it's going to dump it into the small intestines. It's that green, I guess it's that teal part. I'm sorry, the green part. And as you go into that green, long green part, the lower down in the digestive tract you can get with your sugars, the better, because you actually don't have as much ability to absorb sugar in the lower digestive tract. So if we can slow down the amount of carbohydrates, or better said, if we can change the way that we eat carbohydrates, the type of carbohydrates that we eat, then we're going to absorb less carbohydrates. And we're going to absorb them at a slower rate too. So these are all examples on the left-hand side of complex carbohydrates. Basically, any whole food that you eat, meaning something that comes out of the ground, this is considered a complex carbohydrate. It has structure to it. It has a lattice structure to it. And that structure causes that food to break down slowly into your bloodstream. So I like to give examples of, here are some complex versus simple carbohydrates. So a brown rice is going to be more complex than a white rice. That's because it still has its outer covering on it that makes it harder for the body to break down, and then it slowly can release into the bloodstream. An apple is much more preferred than apple juice. And the reason why, again, as the apple breaks down, the sugar can't be released until the fibers within that apple are broken down. So although the apple juice might have vitamins and minerals in it and phytonutrients, it does not have, or it's also going to create a sugar spike much quicker than an apple does, just because of purely because of its form. Fruit obviously has structure, where ice cream has been blended and you pretty much just have milk and sugar. Vegetables over smoothie. People ask me about this. Well, can I eat a smoothie? Yeah, smoothies are better than apple juice, but a smoothie still has been blended. And so as it has broken down some of the structure, and as a result, especially if you like liquefy a smoothie, it's going to be very, very simple. It's going to be a lot more simple carbohydrate than eating a vegetable or eating a fruit, right? So rule of thumb, try to eat complex carbohydrates when you're eating carbohydrates. And carbohydrates are not bad. Your body needs carbohydrates, but just choosing complex over simple is preferable. So fiber is a type of complex carbohydrate. So something people don't know about fiber is even though it's a carbohydrate, it has no ability to raise your blood sugar. It doesn't raise it. In fact, if you eat foods that are high in fiber, they will slow the amount of carbohydrates that are digested. It's believed, they don't know exactly why, but it's believed that the reason why fiber slows sugar uptake is because it actually pushes sugar further down the digestive tract, because it blocks where sugar is taken up in the small intestine. So foods that are great, that are high in fiber, quinoa is awesome. Nuts, sweet potatoes. These are all fantastic high fiber foods. I would just Google search if you're really wanting to get some really high fiber foods. These are just common ones that I thought, okay, we can all add these in pretty easily into our diets. So these are 3 examples: quinoa, nuts, and sweet potatoes. This is actually something that we eat all the time. All 3 of these are kind of staples in our household. So, and just as a reminder, whole foods are always going to be higher in fiber than processed foods. Anytime you process it, what happens is you're breaking down the structure of that food, and oftentimes it's more quickly digestible, and as a result, it's going to be higher in sugar content, because your body can then digest it quickly, and you will end up having more sugar in your bloodstream. Okay, so in order to increase your insulin sensitivity, you decrease the amount of sugar that's absorbed through fiber intake. Okay. Also, you can increase insulin sensitivity by taking down your sugar spikes. So this is something that I use. It's called MetaPower Assist. One of the main constituents in it is mulberry leaf extract. And something that's really cool about mulberry leaf extract is that it binds to digestive enzymes that break down sugar. So as your sugar is trying to get into your system, there are enzymes that help break it down into a simpler form for your body to use. What happens is your body will release those enzymes to break it down. And then if you use something like this that has mulberry leaf extract, it can actually bind in those enzymes so that sugar is not broken down. And what that causes to happen is that if you have simple carbohydrates that are already in your digestive tract, this will bind with those enzymes that would break it down, and it won't break them down. It'll actually push them on further down the digestive tract, and it'll cause a slower digestion of those sugars, because eventually these are going to come out. The mulberry leaf's going to basically get bumped out of the enzyme, and then the sugar will start to be digested, but it slows the amount of sugar that's digested. And then when that happens, you actually end up with the right amount of insulin, because you're not releasing. Let's say you drank some apple juice or something like that. If you drink apple juice and you had this in your system, it's going to block that apple juice from being absorbed quickly. If you didn't have that, the apple juice is going to be absorbed very quickly. And what's going to happen is insulin is going to be released in a huge wave all at once. And as a result, you're going to eventually, if you continue to do that, your body's going to say, hey, I don't need insulin anymore. So this is just something that can help. All right, so this is a question that people give me a lot. What about artificial sweeteners? Why can't I use artificial sweeteners? And this is a good question, because they'll say, well, it doesn't increase your sugar level, which is true. Our artificial sweeteners don't increase the amount of sugar that's in your blood, because your body can't digest artificial sweeteners. Your body just said, your body interprets it as, oh, this is something sweet. Oh, I really like this. So the problem that happens is your body actually will release insulin in preparation for the sugar it thinks it's going to get. And as a result, what happens is your cells, they keep getting faked out. So it's a boy who cried wolf, or in this instance, a boy that cried insulin, right? Your body thinks, oh, great, I need insulin because I got sugar and a whole bunch coming down to me. But when our Diet Coke or whatever gets into our stomach, the body says, oh no, this isn't sugar. What am I doing? And then the body starts to say, hey, don't want insulin, don't eat it. So this is why I strongly suggest that you don't use artificial sweeteners. If you want something sweet, just eat some fruit. Eat something that has some fiber in it so that it slows the ability of that sugar to be digested rather than using fake sugars, okay? Also, I don't know if you knew this, but just you can see what that's dated, July 13th, 2013, or 2023, excuse me. So this was just a couple weeks ago. The World Health Organization, they listed aspartame as most likely or possibly carcinogenic. Okay, so can cause cancer. I don't know about you, but I don't want something that could potentially cause cancer. Even if it's potential, I'm like, nah, I'd rather not. So avoiding artificial sweeteners like aspartame is much better for your health. I just recommend it, okay? All right, snacking. This is something that has been, I guess, maybe even 10 years ago, it became very popular to say, okay, let's eat 6 to 8 meals a day, which is essentially snacking all day long, right? And it was thought that if you eat smaller meals throughout the day, that's going to be better for your metabolism. That's only true if you are extremely active, very, very, very active. And I'm talking about elite athletes. Otherwise, it is not preferable to snack throughout the day. What it ends up happening is that if you eat throughout the day, you're going to be releasing insulin, large amounts of insulin throughout the day. And that insulin is going to be trying to clear that sugar from your blood, right? And you'd rather not have that happen. So preferably don't snack throughout the day. Try and group if you like. So for instance, tonight for dinner, I had my dinner, and then immediately after dinner, I had an apple with some sun butter because I love apples and sun butter. But rather than that being a snack or a dessert that's, an hour after dinner, I eat that all at the same time. That way you actually maximize your use of insulin. You release insulin when you want it released, and you're able to clear the sugar from the blood that you want to clear. Also, I highly recommend making sure that you enjoy your meals. So don't just eat for eating's sake. Really try to enjoy your meals, because if you do, then you'll find yourself snacking less. You'll find yourself doing less mindless eating. Maybe if you're on the couch or whatever watching a show, you might like to snack. Try and get out of that habit, because again, you're just going to be releasing insulin. And oftentimes if we're watching a movie or something like that, it's later at night when you don't want to be increasing your sugar levels anyway. All right. So first experience packet of the evening. I'm going to have you open up your experience packets. If you've got your little experience packet, here are your MetaPower beadlets. So they should be labeled if you have them, or maybe you have them in a little container. Go ahead and open those up. We're going to open these up. And this is the fun part where we get to experience it together. But I'm going to have you just rip that off and then pop one of these out of the container. Oops, mine are kind of stuck in the bottom. There we go. And I'm going to take your beadlet and just stick it in your mouth. If you haven't used any of these before, go ahead and pop that. And I just want some feedback about what that is or how that tastes to you. Anyone have any feedback about what the flavor is like? I'm going to tell you what's in it in just a second. Anyone want to unmute? If not, that's fine. Okay. Well, so what's in here? I've got someone in a chat, but let's see if I can hop in the chat really quick and see. Oh, yeah, Mary, it's the one that says MetaPower beadlets. It says MetaPower beadlets. Okay. So let me tell you what this is. MetaPower beadlets, they've got a mix of essential oils in them. And these essential oils help with cessation of appetite. Okay. So this is it's a mix of, it's got peppermint, it's got cinnamon bark, it's got grapefruit, and it's got one other that I can't remember right now. But this blend of oils actually helps. Oh, Crystal just hopped in and said ginger. So this blend of oils actually helps with helping you get over your appetite, your craving for food. Now, this is not something that you should use like all the time, every meal. This is not for, you to stop eating. This is for you to stop snacking in between meals, right? Another thing that this does, they have this in another form, which is a little bit larger amount of the oils. And that will actually help with releasing fat from your cells. We can talk more about that after this meeting, but I wanted you specifically to get a chance to try these little beadlets and see how they taste to you. Because they are very, very helpful in helping you in between meals. This is something that I use in between meals. I'll use it, for instance, at like 4 o'clock, right, or 4:30 in the afternoon, right in that time period, I start getting very hungry. And I will pop one of these little beadlets, and those will just help me get over my hunger until I can have time to eat and sit down at 6 o'clock when I typically eat dinner. So that is something that can help curb your appetite and stop your snacking. Let's talk a little bit about intermittent fasting. And if you've been on any of our calls before, I've talked about intermittent fasting more in depth, much more in depth, but I'm just going to touch on it tonight. And the idea of intermittent fasting is eating at specific time periods of the day. So you're eating, really you're trying to time your meals to be when you're most active during the day. So rather than eating at 8 o'clock at night, you're trying to eat at, say, 10 to 7 or 10 to 6, right? And you're not eating multiple meals. You're usually eating 2 meals in that time, or 3 meals in that time. But you're not going to eat 5 meals and snack throughout that time. Ideally, you want to go 2 to 3 meals within that time period, and then you're stopping at that point. Now, this was some really great research. This was the Internal Journal of Endocrinology, and this was released. It's March 2022, excuse me. So just last year. And they did a systemic review. If anyone's familiar with research, a systemic review is when they take hundreds to thousands of articles and they say, okay, let's see, this specific intervention was tested this many times, and let's see if it was effective or not. And so they went through and did this meta-analysis, which is a systemic review, right? And they said, okay, does intermittent fasting help with decreasing insulin resistance? This is a direct quote. It says, the IF, meaning intermittent fasting diet, is an effective therapeutic option for patients with impaired glucose and lipid metabolism, which is exactly what we've been talking about. And it may achieve significant weight loss and improve insulin resistance. So intermittent fasting, very, very, very helpful. If you'd like more information about that, I'd be happy to chat with you or send some more info your way. But this is a very powerful way of getting your insulin to actually work properly, because you're teaching your body, hey, I'm serious. I'm only going to eat in these time periods. So save up the insulin, because I'm going to really need that insulin to digest the sugar within these time frames. Okay. So you're just priming your body to know exactly when you're going to use that insulin. Here's another one. So stress management is a really important part of your insulin resistance. Let me tell you why. So when you're stressed, your body can't tell the difference between stress because of an emotional factor and stress because of a physical factor, or something that you need to, like, for instance, if you needed to run away from a lion or a tiger or something like that, right? Like our ancestors might have had to do. The body can't tell the difference between those two. And so because of this, what will happen in either case, if we need it for a physical reason, if we're having physical stress or emotional stress, the body will release cortisol. And cortisol is a sugar-based response to short-term need for sugar. So what ends up happening is we release this cortisol into the bloodstream, and the body says, oh, great, I've got energy. But then what ends up happening is the body realizes, oh, but I don't need to run anywhere. What do I do with this? Okay, well, I'm just going to put it back in storage because I don't need this. And you go through this fake out for your body where it says, okay, I have here, I release cortisol. Okay, insulin, what can you do with that? And then the body's like, well, I don't need that. I don't need any more energy. Thank you. And so as a result, what you end up doing is just, again, storing it. And the body says, hey, stop doing this to me because I'm not going to accept the insulin anymore because I don't need the energy, right? So how we break that cycle is we learn how to use different stress management skills, okay? So one way that you can use that energy that the body actually would like to use is through exercise. Go run, not away from a tiger, but go run. Go get out some of that energy. Use up some of those energy stores that you have, and release some of that stress that you have. Proper sleep. If you can learn how to properly sleep, that actually increases your insulin sensitivity. Meditation and prayer have also been shown to increase your ability to utilize sugar. You're causing yourself to go more into a parasympathetic state, which means more of the resting state, digesting state. And when you're in that state, you are going to basically teach your body, hey, I'm resting now, don't need insulin, thanks. And your body says, oh, okay, cool. You're giving me clear messages here so that I know when to actually use insulin. We already talked about, there are other supplements that you can use to help calm yourself. We're not going to go into all those, but there are supplements that you can use to help calm your emotional state. Another thing you can do, to help with stress management is using essential oils. So this is your second one. I want you to open up your experience packets. Go ahead and bust those open. And you'll see right here, you're going to go ahead and tear it open. And be careful, because this one's not a little beadlet. This one actually is oil in it. So you're going to tear off the top of that. And then slowly you can pour some out onto your finger, and you can smell that. But what we're going to do with this is called In Tune. And this is one of my favorites. This is what I like to use in the mornings to help calm myself and get me ready for the day, but also keep a calm state of mind. So I like to put it, it comes in this little roll-on bottle, which you don't have, but you also put it on your fingers. And I like to put it right here at the base of my skull, just like this. So you can just put it on your fingers. And then I like to put it right here on my forehead. And then I put it on my temples. And then I put it on my nose because I like the smell, and it helps calm me down. But this has it's a blend of different oils, and these oils have been shown to help calm the mind. So it has frankincense, it has patchouli, it has sandalwood. These oils all help with cognitive ability, and also help with calming you down. Now, I love this smell. Now, this is interesting. As it's on your skin, it'll actually change a little bit. So it starts out kind of like a very strong, sharp smell, and then it gets very like musky and woodsy. So this is so good for helping calm my state of mind throughout the day. Something that just is a really nice way to be able to calm yourself and start yourself off. Do you want to say something? Oh, I thought you were gonna. Just breathe. Yes, breathing. Crystal's been into that a lot recently with trying to keep herself calm with baby and such. So just breathe. So these are some of the main ways that are helpful in increasing your insulin sensitivity. Again, remember, choose carbohydrates that are they're more complex, that are going to break down slowly. As you do that, you're not going to have as much sugar digested, and as a result, you're not going to have your insulin need as high. Increase your fiber intake. So making sure that you're eating whole foods, okay? As you eat a whole food, that's actually going to slow, again, the amount of sugar that's digested, and it's going to slow the amount of, or the need for your insulin. You can use supplements to help decrease your blood sugar spikes. Mulberry leaf extract was one of the ones that we talked about. But that's been one that we've personally used, the MetaPower Assist. It's been really, really helpful in helping to cause you to have more sustained energy throughout the day. And then also we talked about using proper snacking, and then not snacking at all. Using if you like to snack, pile that onto your meals, put that on at the end of the meal or beginning of the meal. And then in between meals, using oils like MetaPower beadlets to be able to help with that. And then the last thing is helping to decrease your stress. find your place that really calms you down. For me, guitar is really calming. It really gets me in a calm state. Find your activities that help calm you down. And then also consider using some oils. Some people will prefer other oils that will help calm them down. This one is really good for me. Some people like oils like adaptive or other oils that can help calm your state. So I will welcome you and hope you join us. We have another class on stress and sleep coming up. Speaking of stress, we're going to talk about a little bit more in depth about how you can better your stress and sleep. And we're going to be talking about that on August 8th. Again, it's going to be 8:30 as part of our next Equip workshop. So now I'm gonna pause this and we're gonna open up to questions if anyone has questions. So